Cari amici sportivi, welcome to the local soccer show. It's Stevie P here, straight back in the dungeon, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to go, guys. We have a fantastic guest today. Just fixing myself up, making myself look pretty for this fine young gentleman who is a past guest of the show. He is a fantastic soccer mind. He is someone that, gave the local soccer show his time, and we want to give that back to him in this edition of the local soccer show. Before we start and before I bring him in, guys, we cannot start the local soccer show without thanking the men, women, and children of Evangelista Sports. Thank you to everybody in a hectic beginning of the year soccer season for Evangelista Sport. Busy at their three stores, Montreal North, in beautiful Saint Laurent, Little Italy, Montreal, and in Laval. Guys, they're getting ready for and in prime production time for the start of the local grassroots soccer season. So please go check them out for anything you need: shoes, shin pads, and if you're looking for gear, guys, they have gear. They have the Milan, they have Juve, Inter, they have English Premier League, they have Barcelona, Real Madrid, and maybe they're gonna have a jersey from our guest once I bring him on, and once you guys see who we have on for you today. We're gonna talk local soccer. We're gonna talk an interesting project, and we're gonna talk like as if we were two guys at the bar, but an ocean away. So, giving you a little tidbit, guys. We're gonna play the intro, Master Control, President in the background, and then we're gonna start the show, and we're gonna bring on our guest. So, thank you very much, and let's go. Guys, we're going to give a Milan Weekly podcast and the local soccer show welcome to Mr. Sandro Grande, live from Pescara. Grande Sandro, thank you very much for joining us once again. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and you? Thanks, Steve, for
Very,
having me.
Sandro, you know that it's always a pleasure to have you on. We chat via long distance WhatsApp messages, and I always said, whenever you want to come on, feel free. The local soccer show is your home, and you will always have a place with the local soccer show. Myself and Presidente, very excited. Presidente was like, Sandro's waiting for you. Sandro's waiting for you. And I'm like, Presidente, I sent him the link. And what happened? The link went in Sandro's junk. So that's podcast stuff. But Sandro, for people, in locally here in Montreal, you've done great things for soccer here locally. But give yourself a little introduction of what Sandro Grande is doing now, so that everybody we can set the stage for what we're going to be talking about shortly.
Yeah, so basically in 2023, got a phone call from one of my buddies, my ex-teammates from my years playing in Italy. He's one of the directors here at Pescara Calcio in Italy, and called me up, said, "Are you interested in coming to Italy?" Had a quick chat with the family, looking at the opportunity, looking at what I want to do, going forward in the coaching industry. I thought about it a little bit, not very long, and came to an agreement with the club here, signed the contract, and started in August 2023 as head coach of the U16s of Pescara Calcio and and technical director of the Pescara Calcio Academy.
A big congratulations! I know I spoke to you briefly when you were departing, and I gave you my congratulations. But now I want to do it live in podcast land. I'm really happy for you. Congratulations! I know this is something that it's another step in your coaching career, another feather in your cap. If I could ask you, if we could start just about this big move, because it was a big move. We had you on the show before, and we talked about Sandro Grande, the soccer player, and when you left, Montreal, and you went to Italy to play soccer. Speak to us a little bit, Sandro, about how this experience was different, doing it with family, kids, etc.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's obviously it's very very similar. Having gone through it as a player makes it easier, for sure. I've experienced it for many years. Playing, living in Europe, being away from home at times. So this is all quite similar. Obviously, nowadays I have two kids, so it's a little bit different. My son is here in Italy as well, so he plays for Pescara Calcio U13, which is good for him, which is a good development program for him. And basically, getting adjusted in Italy is not that difficult. I knew what to expect. I know the culture. What I didn't know what to expect was coaching young players in Italy. I was very, very surprised at the level, the level of understanding of the kids. I think there's a culture behind the game that's innate, that's just born in every single person here. At very young ages, I've worked this year. I've had the chance to work with young kids of 6, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, and it's quite surprising how they understand the game so much, and they play the game just like our first team plays the game, just in little bodies, and they do the same types of things, and they'll pull jerseys, and they'll use their arms, and they'll pass the ball around. There won't be so many players that just take the ball and play individually and forget about their teammates. They understand the essence of football, and they understand the purpose, and they understand how to get things done on the pitch. The pace of the game, the training sessions is, it's bar none. Like we've had many kids from abroad coming this year on trial, from Canada, from Australia, from US, from many places around the world. And the first thing they see is always the pace of the game is very, very fast, and it's just because everybody works so hard. There's no complaining on the field. They all know that they want to play in the game on the weekend, and not everybody gets equal playing time. That doesn't exist here. So they want to get a shot. They want to play. They want to play minutes. They want to be able to give to their teammates, and they just know that how am I going to do that on the weekend is by working hard during the week, and there's no other remedy. The coach is not going to give you anything for free.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point, right? So we spoke about a little bit off air. For those who don't know, Pescara has developed throughout the years. I'm not going to pretend to know I know them all, but Verratti comes from that vivaio of talent there, where Serie A missed completely on that talent and made him go. Again, no offense to PSG, well, offense to PSG. He went on vacation to PSG for a couple of seasons, and played for our national team. But Serie A misses that boat with Verratti, right? And can you tell us, how is I know it's a different world, but how is that relationship with Pescara with other teams, that in the big Serie A, where where those teams don't miss the Verrattis anymore?
Well, look, there's a lot of teams that are going to miss players. I mean, it's the name of the game. Don't let anybody tell you, no expert, including myself or anybody else. The best coach in the world doesn't know who's going to be pro one day and who's going to be a top player one day. I mean, Pescara has a massive relationship with all big clubs because there was a ranking actually a few weeks ago in Tutto Campo, I think it was, that basically had a top 25 youth sectors in all of Italy with regards to development and results. Not results of winning and losing, but results of producing players. And the only Serie C club in that list was Pescara, and they were ranked number 21. And they're on that list, they're ahead of a lot of Serie A clubs, a lot of Serie B clubs. So it's normal that we have for example, this year we had a couple of guys on loan from Juventus in our first team. We had a couple of guys on loan from Inter and Milan, and there's players coming from every club. Why? Because every time there's a player of 14, 15 years old, 16 years old that's doing really well in Pescara, the clubs have no issue calling Pescara, and Pescara is not going to throw them a number that's an insane number. They're going to make it affordable so that the kid can move on. They're not going to block him here. They're not going to say, no, you got to stay here because you're our player. No, no, no. They're going to accompany him. They're going to bring him, happily bring him to the next club. Just last summer, we had one player that went to 2009 player that went to AS Roma. We had a 2008 player that went to Fiorentina. We had a 2010 player that went to Fiorentina. We had a 2009 player that went to Cagliari, and we had another one. I just can't remember where. But when you have a club that's not able to buy players around the world, because buying players costs a lot of money, you have to find other ways of producing, or else you're gonna go bankrupt. You're gonna struggle to field a team in the top league, But huge clubs are here every day. It's surprising, but throughout the year when you're at training, there's always about 5 to 10 agents in the stands. Every day, all year. On the weekend when you play games, this is a really cool thing that they do here that we don't do or we didn't do in Canada, and I don't think we do it anyways. Everybody is allowed to get a game sheet, so you have the list of players. So when people come to the field, when we play home games or when we play away games, at the entrance there's the list of players, so anybody can take the list of players. And it's surprising. I don't know all the players, but some of the people here know the U17 player that's playing in Cesena that's going to play against us on Saturday. They know his name. They know how many goals he scored. So it gives like this big value. And then obviously these lists are agents and clubs that come have the list right there. So it's very professional. They know who they're looking at. They know what player, how old he is, what size he is.
So maybe not in local soccer. I don't know at what level, but I've seen it done. In movies, like at basketball movies. It's more of a collegiate style scouting where you bring in some players to showcase them, and everybody knows what that player, where he's from, what school he goes to, or what club he pays for. You're saying that they do it at just a regular Sunday evening game. They're able to see. That's amazing. That's a very good idea.
Because the culture is, I'm Pescara. I can't sell player A to Barca because Barca's not coming here. But if Pescara can sell a player to AS Roma, AS Roma is going to play against Barca. Pescara is not going to play against Barca, but AS Roma is going to play against Barca. And the funny thing about it is that maybe a month ago, my son's U13 team went to play Juventus.
Yeah.
And some people asked me, I posted on Instagram, and some people asked me, how did they do? How did they do? And I said, well, they did this. They actually won. Oh, how can it be? Pescara wins against Juve. And I'm like, well, we won. They won 5-3. Doesn't mean that they dominated the game. The result doesn't mean nothing, but they competed. Whether they won or they lost, the game was close, So, and so we get back to the culture, right? Yeah, it's Juve. They have top players. They have crazy talents. I didn't see the game. I wasn't there. So they might have dominated the game. They ended up losing. But just to say that the game is close, So now all of a sudden, from that game there's the one of the players from Pescara, the weekend after, got invited by Juventus to go play a tournament with them. Because they wanted to see him, and if Juventus is interested in him, they can't buy him right away because he's only 13, but they can buy him in, I think in a year or two. I think at 15 they can buy him.
15.
Yeah, I think at 15 they can buy him. And if they buy him, some of these numbers that they go for these kids, and this is another thing, like a lot of people ask me, okay, yeah, but what do you mean they buy them? How much they paying them for, Before used to be a lot more money, but now they're selling players at 300, 400,000 euro plus percentages on the future sale,
Yeah,
right?
so that's an interesting thing, and it's a good segue to my next question. So you talked about Pescara, and you talked about they can't buy that Brazilian or that Argentinian who's all hyped up because it's just not economically friendly or sustainable in their model. So their model is to go get talent from abroad, North America, I'm going to say the oceanic, just because you talked about Australia, and so on and so forth. So, am I wrong to say that player development for a team like Pescara is their currency? It's how they make money. It's how they keep this club sustainable. And again, I'm getting flashbacks. I don't know if he came from Vivaio, but correct me if I'm wrong. Immobile also comes out of Pescara in some way or facet. So uh, being that and you agreed with me, I don't want you to please tell me if I'm wrong, and this is the way I see it. So Pescara, a Serie A team, is using this model to generate itself. What are we doing wrong here in North America where we cannot use the same type of model? What's happening that we can? Because you know how it is, Sandro. I'm not gonna lie to you. As much as we don't want to say it, here in North America, we have a win at all costs. Development for us is something that takes too much time and is not understood in our culture. But this model that Pescara uses, is it something that could be transplanted in the North American game where we can encourage development?
So I think there's two parts to that question. One, with regards to the business aspect, if a club like FC Laval, who's one of our partners, or Vaughan Azzurri, doesn't have an owner that invests money, then their only purpose is to give a place where kids can play. Here, there's an owner. So Pescara Calcio has an owner, AC Milan has an owner. They have all interests in buying a player cheap. Every player is an asset. Every player is a stock. So if I can get that stock at $10 and sell them at 12, I made $2. And that's the way football works. In Europe, in North America, unfortunately, other than the 8 CPL clubs and the 3 MLS clubs in Canada, nobody else is buying and selling players. Okay. Now, the whole system would need to be revamped to say, okay, I take a player, I sell him to CF Montreal. The fee can be very small, doesn't matter. But I'm proud if CF Montreal sells him to Benfica, and then I make money through that, But nobody looks at that aspect. Everybody looks at, okay, we got to give this kid a place to play. And with regards to the results and winning games, winning at all costs, here, Pescara doesn't have that mentality. So, for us, we need to play football. We need to produce players and play football. Now, it's normal. We're not going to lose every game. We're going to, our U17 is in the playoffs now. Our U15 is in the playoffs. My U16 team finished outside the playoffs, finished 6th. But the club had no issue in taking 6 or 7 of my players in the U16 and bringing them up with the U17s. Now, it's normal. You take away 6, 7 better players from my group, I'm going to lose some games. But the goal is that these 6, 7 keep on developing even further, and they get sold for money. Here, the one thing I'll tell you is that there is no, like, it doesn't exist kick and run. Kick and run doesn't exist. Everybody plays proper football. Everybody, even at the young ages, nobody just takes the ball and just kicks it anywhere. So it comes back a little bit to what I was saying before. It's in the culture. It's ingrained in them. They know what the purpose is of the game, and they understand. Like I saw a game 2009 PLSGQ that happened a few weeks ago in Quebec. with two top teams. I'm not going to say who. And to be honest, it was tough to watch. Very, very tough to watch because there was very little football. So it's hard to see good soccer players in that type of an environment, you know.
Yeah, and again, it's why I touch on it because I haven't hid the fact that I've said it on this show before. I'm on the board at CSRDP. I'm part of this club now, and I want to see development. But it's very hard to push that message across when everybody's not on the same page because of that winning at all cost mentality. Uh, and now I've had the opportunity also to start my C license, which is the baby steps into not il grande Mister Grande, but wanting to be able to at least learn from guys like yourself and guys that are doing the course at Soccer Quebec, that have experience and can teach me how to teach, right? Because I love the game and I want to be able to teach it properly. Uh, what do you say like if someone would ask you, Sandro, what's a day in the life of someone at Pescara Calcio, not because it is, from your explanation, a very professional environment, you know someone your son's age, or like who does practice calcio with Pescara, if they ask you what's a day in the life of that kid, or a week, if we can make it a little bit more bird's eye view, just to give them the comparison of what happens in local soccer here in North America and what happens in Pescara.
So basically, a lot of people back home, I know, because I lived there for so many years, think that kids in Europe train 15 hours a week. It's not true. It's not true. My son's group is U13. They play in the top league in Italy. So they also play against Serie A and Serie B clubs. They play against AS Roma. They play against Lazio. They train 3 times a week, 2 hours a day, and they play on the weekend. And if you don't play in the first group, because they have 24 players, you're only allowed to bring 18. So every Friday night, the list of 18 comes out. The kids know I might not be on that list. So there's no pouting. There's no parents calling the club and saying, hey, why isn't my son on the list? No. That was a big adjustment for my son, for example, he's not coming from a reality where, what do you mean I'm not getting a jersey this weekend? Well, you're getting a jersey, but maybe not in the first team. You're going to get in the second team, or you're going to get in the third team, and you're going to get to go play, because the fun of, doing football is to play on the weekend. But so these are all things that work on the mind, and to make them be stronger through adversity, so they train 6 hours a week. They play a game on the weekend, and that's it.
You made it sound easy, but what's that big but?
The big but is the 2 hours of training. There's no fooling around. There's no wasting time. The kids are all on point. My son has a GPS system that he used to use in Canada. It's the player makers that you wear on your shoes. All the distances that they used to do in Canada in a session were all around 3.5, 4 kilometers a training session. Here, every session, he's not doing less than 7.5 kilometers a session.
Wow, that's a huge difference, more than double. But what are we focusing on? What are we? You said it's full intensity for 2 hours. Are we working more technical? Are we working more tactical? Is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, but it's a lot more technical than it is tactical. A lot of small-sided games, a lot of possession drills, a lot of stuff where the kids need to be free to make decisions. A lot of duels, a lot of 1v1s, 2v1s, 2v2s, 3v2s. A lot of small micro situations where the kids need to resolve and find answers for. That are going to serve them a purpose when they get to the game on the weekend. Like I've always said back home, this is a team game, but our job in clubs should be an individual development, not a team development. And you can work on the team development a certain percentage of the week, okay? But your focus should be on the individual, because they might sell Steve one day and he's the only one in the team that they're going to sell. And if your club is banking on making money off a sell, you got to produce one Steve every year, or two Steves, or three Steves. Nobody's going to buy your full team. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, then that's a good point, leading me to my next question, right? So, uh, you said, Pescara, Calcio, and it opened yourself up to a lot of changes. What do you think is the biggest change you've noticed from your time there? Like, let's say, example here, we like to stop play and correct, and then make them continue the actual game, correct on the fly. Examples like that you could share with young coaches. I know there's no real right way. Some people guide you into the way that the books say that you should do it. But what's your what have you seen that they do at Pescara that, oh wow, they would never do this back here?
The coaches here don't stop that much, so it's a lot of flow in the game. There's a lot of talking over, so not freezing every time. It's normal. There's situations where you have to stop to paint them a picture, but it's not stopping for 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't exist. The directors don't want it, and the kids don't want it. So it's a lot of talking over. It's a lot of creating the environment. You want a certain concept to come out of your session. Well, create the environment so that that objective is figured out by the players. Yeah, coaches here are not allowed. I wouldn't say they're not allowed, but like the directors are very clear on the fact that, listen, the kids need to play. So we're here for 2 hours. They need to touch the ball for 2 hours. Then you also have to put into the equation. Every single team has a staff of 7 people. So like for me in the U16, I have 2 assistants full time. I have 1 goalie coach. I have a physical prep coach. I have 2 general managers, and then there's myself. So we're 7 people, and a physiotherapist. So per team, so it's kind of easier to work in this environment, right? Because you just split up, you make it smaller numbers. You're not always doing 11v11. You can do 4v4s and 5v5. Just create multiple stations, and that's basically that's basically what it is.
Amazing. So, Sandro, you did a great job of explaining this fantastic Pescara, professional environment. Like you just said, you have 2 assistants, you have 2 general managers, you have a physiotherapist, so on and so forth. 7 staff members just for your team. I'm pretty sure everybody's asking themselves, just, we don't have to get into the exact detail, but the comparison with what the cost is here in Montreal, Canada, for a kid to play soccer. And how does it work at Pescara? Does someone just show up and they pay a registration and they're playing with Pescara, or they're invited?
So basically, as of U9, we have selected groups. So there's I want to say a first group, a second group. Some age groups have 4 groups. Some of them have 5. Some of them have 3. The kids pay to play soccer. They pay about 50, 60 euro a month. So it's not that expensive. It's about 500 or 600 euro a year for 10 months. So they do pay a little fee until 13. And then at 14, basically what happens is you enter into the settore giovanile. The settore giovanile is basically the next step. So until 13, it's called Scuola Calcio. and then after that it becomes settore giovanile. Scuola Calcio is translated to soccer school. I know a lot of people back home don't like the word soccer school, but yes, it is a school of soccer. And and then at 14, basically the club. So all the local players don't pay to play. All the players that are in from outside that come in and stay at our hotel, they get fed, they get brought to school, they go to private school, they train every day, they get bussed everywhere. Out of all the players that are in our hotel, basically the club says, okay, this player we're willing to invest 100%, so it's totally free. And then this player, maybe we're willing to invest 50% of the expenses, not to make money. So if the expenses are $10, the club will put five, and if the player agrees to stay, he'll put five. You know, so they'll do that kind of. Whereas maybe 15, 20 years ago, it used to be free for everybody that was selected. Nowadays, a lot more clubs are doing this just because financially, a lot of clubs in Europe, around the world, are having their own issues, right? So, and then you have to factor in Pescara's in Serie C. When you're in Serie C, there's a lot less money from television rights and all this stuff. I'm not sure how Juve and Milan and these big clubs do it. I'm quite certain that they probably pay 100% of the expenses
So we
yearly.
could compare it to North American full scholarship, half scholarship kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now we talked about that, and I wanna be mindful of your time and the time difference. Absolutely. Uh, and I know there's probably a game you want to watch, so I'll make this quick. But it's important that we talk about this. Guys, don't worry about social media stuff. Milan Weekly Podcast and the local soccer show will tag Pescara Calcio and Mister Grande. So that you can follow him, and guys, please, it's a great follow. Really, some really great stuff, great videos, and from time to time he even answers me when I have a soccer and coaching question, but that he puts it on my bill for when I come to Pescara. He's gonna collect on that. uh, but let's talk about some great projects that you have, and you spoke about the partnership with FC Laval. uh, what's that partnership like, and what's this new project that's coming in June?
Yeah, I mean, the partnerships with these clubs around the world is basically to find hidden talent. Like we said before, Pescara is in no way a club that can go to Brazil and go and buy Hendrick. They don't have the money for that. They won't even go buy number 500 in Brazil because they don't have the money for that either. So what Pescara has figured out, and some other clubs, because Lecce last year in the Primavera Championship, I don't know if you're aware, but they fielded a team of all foreigners and no Italians or very little Italians.
Wow.
And the director said, "Well, bring me 24 Italians that are better than the boys I brought you this year, and I'll use the Italians." But unfortunately, he went to get players in little countries, and he brought them to Lecce, and they won the Primavera Championship. And then quite a few of those players played in the first team this year in Lecce. So Pescara is trying to do something similar. And in our Primavera team, uh, one of the top scorers in the league and in our team is Michael Zappieri. He comes from Toronto. He comes from our partner club, which is Von Azzurri. Um, One of our other top performers this year in the club is Massimo Gatto, who was cut by CF Montreal at 17 and at 16, and who came to Italy and has been here for 2 years, and who has just exploded this year, exploded very much, um, and now is worth something in the football world, and people are watching him. In my team, in the U16 team, I coached a 2008 group. I had a 2009 player on my team. He was a striker from Sydney, Australia, and we found him through one of our partners in Australia. And this boy is 15 years old, and he already has a contract with Pescara. And he also had the opportunity at the end of the season to get minutes in 5 games with the U19s. So he's 15 years old and he's playing with the Primavera in U19. And our U19 saved themselves against Ternana, won the game 4-2, and the winning goal, the third goal, was Antonio Arenas, who was the boy from Sydney that I think everybody that's listening should write the name down, because you'll probably see him on television in the next few years. You know,
Amazing.
so when you have a club like this that wants to partner up with clubs, we partnered up with FC Laval. We were already partners with Vaughan. Yeah, and we also are partnered with a club in Australia called Manningham United from Melbourne. You know, and the objective of these partnerships is to find hidden talent, not only in FC Laval, not only in Vaughan, but by having a base in Montreal, we're hoping that we're able to see FC Laval players. We're hoping that we're able to see other players from the area. And with our partner clubs, every time they send us a player, for example, Michael Zepieri from Vaughan, the incentive for Vaughan Azzurri is if Pescara sells him to a bigger club, they get a percentage. So we're not only taking your player and saying thank you very much, have a good day. We're saying thank you very much, have a good day, and here's the check for this boy that we moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
So there's an incentive.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, Pescara is saying thank you for your investment. We'll take over from here. Here's your
Exactly,
money back. We'll take over from here.
exactly, and we do the same thing that AC Milan does with us.
Mhm.
We have a boy in our club that's about to sign with AC Milan.
I wrote
He
to
might,
you very quickly.
yeah. Hopefully the deal goes through. Hopefully everything is finalized. But we're doing the same thing that Vaughn is doing. Now we're just pushing him to a bigger club
Yeah.
because they have more possibilities. They have more eyes on this boy. They have, the national team is obviously going to take more players from AC Milan than they're going to take from Pescara Calcio. So these are opportunities, and more and more success this boy has, more and more his stock is worth something. And to make people understand how these stocks work, so yes, Paris Saint-Germain buys Verratti from Pescara, and when Paris Saint-Germain sells Verratti to the team in Qatar, well, Pescara still gets money. So this is something that's ongoing. Now Verratti only got one sell, but can you imagine whoever produced Mario Balotelli, for example, who had how many sells, how many transfers? Well, whoever developed him as a young player kept on getting money and money and money. I think that was Inter Milan, but um, back in the day, and this is how the game works. That's
Yeah.
why Benfica, um, clubs like Benfica, clubs like Sporting Lisbon, clubs like Ajax and Anderlecht and Bruges, and the smaller clubs in the world of football. That's how they're able to make so much money and keep on going, right?
So we talked about the player, and then selfishly, I would ask, what happens with the coaches? Because obviously, you partner up with these clubs, and you want to exchange information in terms of like if they're partnering with you, maybe developing kids and try to push them in a certain way that Pescara wants to play calcio. Uh, what's the exchange with the partner club with the coaches, and how does that go about?
So the door is obviously open for these clubs to come to Pescara. So the technical director of Vaughan, has been here in the last 2 years at least 4 or 5 times. Manningham United is bringing a bunch of teams in September, October here to play against our teams, to visit, to see what it's all about, to soak in the culture. Um, when we're going to FC Laval this summer and to Vaughan, We're going to be doing coaches meetings. We're going to be on the field coaching the players. So the FC Laval staff is going to be helping our staff. We're going to bring 6 or 7 coaches from Pescara to work with FC Laval's teams, and we're not. The difference is that we're not asking. We're not telling the coaches how Pescara plays football. We're trying to show the players and the coaches how we teach football, not how we play football, which is two different things. Because if we want to teach them how Pescara plays football, well, then they're only going to know one part of the game. But if we're able to teach them how we teach football, what kind of exercises we do, what kind of drills we do, how we engage the players, now all of a sudden you're getting a more complete player that's going to be able to play at FC Laval, or he's going to be able to play at Saint Laurent, or he's going to be able to play at CSRDP, or he's going to be able to play at CF Montreal, right? And this is the goal. Like, you're not trying to build players to be able to play with CSRDP. No, you're trying to build players to be able to play football in the world of football.
In the world of football, and like you said, develop them to get to that next level. That would be a local soccer club like CSRDP, and I'll talk about them because just that's my club. I would use them as I'm gonna just go again because I lost you for a second. So you spoke about how you know a local soccer club, and I'll talk about CSRDP just because I'm there. Uh, let's say CSRDP would use this as a stepping stone to get some international or national credit in terms of like what we're doing at the development stage and moving on players from CSRDP. And again, I'll use Pescara just because you're at Pescara, moving player X from CSRDP to Pescara, and his trajectory goes on. Uh, you know, one last question before I let you go, and it's something that I've always been curious about. For you, Sandro Grande, coming back home, how is that gonna feel for you? Because now your home is Pescara, and you're coming back to your home where you were born. I'm interested to know how that's gonna be, and also the second part of that question, we'll post it. But if you have the dates when you will be here.
Yeah, of course, coming home to Montreal is home. Like, so I'm going to be able to see my family and friends. Obviously, it's special because I'm going back to FC Laval, where I worked for 2 or 3 years, where I helped them build their program because they were a brand new merged club with a lot of challenges, being so big. So it's definitely going to be fun to see all the coaching staff again and be able to work with them. I mean, that's a great part of the trip. With regards to um, um, well, I forgot what you said. What the second part of your question?
The second part of the question is, the dates when you'll be here,
Yeah.
when these camps will be happening, right? We'll
Okay.
post them, but if you want to let us know live on the air, that's even better.
Okay. So I'm going to start with regards to the dates. We're getting into FC Laval the week of the 17th. We're going to be working with their teams. So that's just for FC Laval teams. It's not for external teams. And
Not
then the week
even
of the
not even a large gentleman from RDP can't stop by and say hello, or no?
Oh, he could stop by and say hello. Anybody could come and watch if they want. One thing I want to make it, clear and precise. Pescara has no magic formula. So a lot of the stuff you're gonna see, people might say, "Well, we do that." Yeah. Now it's how do you make it dynamic? How do you make it fun for the kids? And how do you make it that it's long term, not you do it one time and then that's it. But there's no secret formulas. The drills are very very similar to what you see now. It's how you animate. But it's going to be open to I've had at least 4 or 5 coaches ask me if they could come and watch, not from FC Laval. So yes, definitely the door is open. I'd love to see everybody, and just give some feedback and maybe take some feedback. Maybe we're not doing something right or whatever. So definitely open to everybody that wants to come. Find me on Instagram if you want to write to me. No problem. Let me know. I'll let you know exactly times and of the training sessions and location. The second week, the week of the 24th, we're going to have a day camp for U9 to U12, an ID camp. So all players U9 to U12, boys and girls, sign up. It's going to be in the west of Laval. Field is going to be confirmed in the next few days. We're going to be working with the boys and girls in the morning, and whoever's selected from that camp, whoever we think has some hidden talent in them, we are going to invite them to Pescara to come and be here for a week, 2 weeks, and experience what it means to train with our groups. Okay, so there are going to be players selected from the young camp to come to Pescara and see what it's all about. And in the afternoon, on the week of the 24th, on the 25th, 26th, and 27th, we're going to have tryouts, official Pescara Calcio tryouts for boys, U13 to U13 plus, so 2011s all the way to 2007s, and if there are 2006s that are interested, we will host 2006s as well. And basically, that's the objective. There is to find the next Michael Zappieri, to find the next Massimo Gatto, to find the next Matteo Bessa, who played with AS Laval and who's now at Pescara Calcio playing with the U16s, or the next Antonio Arena. And this is the objective. So if there's anybody from Montreal area, Ottawa, wherever in Canada, we're going to have tryouts in Montreal, the 25th, 26th, and 27th of June, and then we're going to have tryouts in Toronto in the middle of July, and then we're also going to have tryouts for Pescara Calcio in Nebraska in the U.S. Towards the 20th and 21st of July.
So you're on the road again, Sandro.
Yeah, I'm coming home for 3 weeks. It's going to be a lot of soccer. It's going to be a lot of family, and then back to Italy to start working for next season.
Back to work. Sandro, I want to take 5 seconds of your time. I like to do this, the rapid fire questions. And, I'd have to be very honest with you. If I don't ask you this, I'll be ashamed of myself. But what do you miss the most about Montreal?
Obviously, family.
Okay. What food do you miss the most from Montreal?
My mom's food.
uh,
My mom's
now,
cavatelli. Let's say that. Let's
your
make it more
mom's
precise.
cavatelli. Fantastic. Another quick question now. Now that you moved to Italy, have you taken someone underneath your wing that you think is going to be someone who we need to look out for in terms of like the coaching ranks, like someone that's an up and comer?
Here in Italy or from Montreal?
From Montreal or from Italy, someone that we'd like
No,
to
for
shout
sure.
out.
I got a lot of friends in the game, and in Montreal, I want to be honest. Like, we have a lot of good coaches. Mike Vitolano and Andrea Di Pietrantonio, Amro Radwan was at FC Laval, Imad Ibrahimi was at FC Laval, Sylvain Asquet, Maxime Lecomte. There's a lot of coaches. I know I'm missing some for sure, but there's a lot of good coaches in Montreal. That can definitely have a career in the game and give a lot of valuable information to the kids back home. Obviously, making the jump to go to Europe or leaving the country is not always easy. For me, I've done it before, so it's a little bit easier. I was lucky enough to have a little bit of success as a player, so it's normal. There's a little bit more doors that open for me in this sense, but for sure, it's not something that I haven't told the club here that we need to start looking at some coaches from abroad.
Nice. Last question. As you know, I started my C license. If you would have to give me any advice, what would you give me right now?
A lot of patience, and when you get to the field, the kids want to learn. So just make sure that you're ready with your sessions and don't improvise, because improvisation, the kids lose interest right away and they figure you out right away. So don't lie to them. Just give them all your heart and your passion, and make sure you're able to give them something every session. And don't be afraid to run a bad session.
Yeah.
There's too many people that are afraid to run a bad session. Don't only copy and paste a practice that you've seen on the internet. You see internet um, training sessions, exercises, great. Everybody does it. Take it, sit down with it, analyze it, understand what you want from the drill, understand what you want to put in the drill, because it's fine if you take a drill from myself or if I take a drill from you. This is the game. The game is all about copying and adjusting. Um, the ones that just think, well, I'm going to print this paper out because I'm going to go to a field and I'm going to do the same session that Sandro did, it's not going to work because it's not going to come from your heart. You need to take that session, you need to write it the way you want it, you need to maybe change a few things so it comes from you deep down
Yeah.
inside.
Like we spoke about this before. It is no one invented that drill. It came from someone probably invented it, but it came from someone. And I'm a strong believer of I don't know everything. I have, I'm lucky enough through this podcast and through having a big mouth, that people want to, give me the time to ask questions like I just did right now. And I feel like if I get something from someone, I want to make it my own a bit, right? And not and say, yes, I got it from Sandro, but I did this. And then maybe Sandro's going to tell me, no, what you did is wrong. You should have done this to make it your own. Maybe that would have been a bit better. Or, hey, Steve, that's a good idea. Maybe in the next session of the Pescara U16 team, we're going to use the Steve version of this drill. So it's a great community. I hope that through shows like the local soccer show and having guys like you on, people will continue to share and not make it an empire building exercise, and make it more of a sharing exercise. It's always been the goal. Sandro, I know that the answer is penne rigate, so I'm not going to ask you that. But I want to wish you again the best of luck. I will see you that week of June 17th. You know that I will be reaching out. You know I'll be sitting in the stands watching that practice. So a safe trip over. Thank you so much. Thank you to Pescara Calcio for letting you do this with us tonight. And sign off. And whoever you want to thank or whoever you want to say hi to, please do.
Yeah, so just want to say thank you to you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure discussing football and discussing calcio with you guys. You run a great show, so thanks for that. To everybody, I hope to see you the weeks of June 17th with Pescara Calcio in Montreal. For any information, any questions, I'm on Instagram. Go find me. It's quite easy to find me. And if you need any information on the camps, the tryouts, it's academy.pescaracalcio.com. You can find all the information of our camps, where we're going to be this summer, and hope to see a lot of kids there. Just enjoy the game of football, and hopefully we're able to give them some joy and some Italian culture, calcio culture. Let's just say that.
Amazing, Sandro. Thank you very much. Stay on because we're going to talk in the green room together before I let you go. But guys, Sandro's signing off, and I will sign off as well, guys. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the local soccer show. Guys, thank you to Evangelista Sports, Presidente in the background, who's going to have to do some editing on this one. And guys, remember, it's grassroots soccer, guys. Development and change. That's what we want to do. Development and change. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Forza Milan.